it's still January, so technically I'm not late. Right, so hello, long time no see, yet again. I actually recorded my worst books of the year like 2 weeks ago and I uploaded it, but I hated it, so I deleted the video. So I guess you will never know. But I just finished all of my classes, and starting from next week I have my exam period, and I will not have the time to do this for the next 2 weeks. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit down and do it right now. Might be a mess, but bear with me. Oh, also, as you probably saw from the title, I'm going to talk about my favorite books of 2018, and before we get into it, I have 2 honorable mentions. So the first honorable mention is a book I haven't talked about yet, which is Vilette by Bronte. I gave it 4 stars, but I really related to the main character, which is surprising because she felt very distant for the first half of the book, but somewhere in the middle I suddenly realized I really cared about the main character, and I don't know, I really related to her. And this is a very depressing and miserable book, but I don't know, I have some weird personal connection to the main character. Not a 5-star because I had some problems with it, but for some reason I really connected to the main character in the story. Second honorable mention is a play, Misanthrope by Moliere. I read it in January of last year, so I don't really remember much, but I think it's my favorite play by Moliere, so it's hilarious. I remember really enjoying myself. I just really like Moliere's sense of humor. And actually this was on my 10th place when I was making this list at the end of December, but then I realized there is a book that I gave a lower rating, but I felt like connected with that book more. So this one I gave 4.5 stars. But it still ended up on my honorable mentions list. Then place number 10, which before was an honorable mention, but I feel like it wasn't its right place. That is Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail, Honeyman. I actually saw Franny's video that she's going to read it because I liked it so much. I saw it, sorry I didn't comment, but I'm really glad you're going to read it because it is one of my favorites of last year actually, which surprised me because I did give it 4 stars, but I just can't stop thinking about the main character. I also very much connected to the story, and even though at first I was kind of like, oh, I'm not sure about this story, like it kind of sounds cliche, but the main character, in my opinion, really grows on you, and you start really caring about her well-being. I'm not going to give you synopsises because I suck at that, so I really enjoyed the story, really enjoyed the main character, really liked how it ended, because I felt like this book could take a very predictable turn, and it didn't. I really enjoyed that. Then on place number 10 we have Persuasion by Jane Austen. I think, not sure, but I think this is my second favorite Jane Austen's book. So this book I gave 4.5 stars to. This is a very, I don't know, quiet story. The first half, I give it 4.5 stars because the first half is incredibly slow. And this is a very short book. I was almost halfway and I still felt like we were like just getting started, like almost half of the book was kind of introduction of all of the characters and like the settings. So the first half was extremely slow, but the second it kind of picked up. I couldn't put the book down. It was great. The main character also is so mature. She's a lot older than all of Jane Austen's other heroines, and I really enjoyed it. It was very different from other Jane Austen's books. And that love letter, okay? If you read it, you know what I mean. Beautiful. So that's number 9. Then on number 8 we have In Order to Live by Yeonmi. And this is a memoir by a young girl who escaped from North Korea, and I just think this is a story everyone should read. It's so well written, it's so heartbreaking at times, but it's a very important story in my opinion, and yeah, I gave it 5 stars. Then on number 7 we have Beartown by Friedrik, Backman, which is a very last minute addition to my list of best books of 2018. I read it, I think this was the last book I finished in 2018, and I'm so glad it was that book. Oh, the lighting changed. Sorry. Wait, did I give it 4.5 stars or 5 stars? I don't remember. I will probably talk about it more in my December-January wrap-up, but this took me by surprise. I cared so much. This book has one of my favorite characters of all time, Benji. Such a sweetheart. And I'm really excited to read the second book in this duology. In a way, it reminded me of Jodi Picoult's books, and also who wrote Everything I Never Told You? Celeste Ng, but I think I enjoyed it more than their kind of writing style. Then on number 6 we have A Little Life by Hanya and Yanagihara. This book broke me. There's no other way to describe this book. It's about 4 friends who met in college and are now living in New York and try to, you know, achieve their dreams. And it's heartbreaking. There's no other book that made me cry so much. I think I cried like 8 times at least, and I sometimes had to put the book down to kind of compose myself because there's a lot of trigger warnings for this one. And I kind of understand the critique of it. There's so many terrible things happening, particularly to this one character, that it's borderline unbelievable, but at the same time I kind of disagree. Like, I feel like it's sometimes hard to get out of this like spiral. I'm not sure how to explain it, but yeah, I don't think I will ever reread this book, or I won't reread it anytime soon, but I thought it was a great book. Then we have Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix on place number 5. Okay. This is my favorite Harry Potter book out of the whole series, which is, I feel like, surprising because this is one of people's like least favorite books. I feel like a lot of people are kind of annoyed with Harry and how like grumpy and like teenager like he is in this book, but I feel like him being like very irritated and angry makes a lot of sense because he's dealing with a lot of grief. And also I personally was angry with him because of all of the like adults in this book who weren't telling him what was going on. I feel like other people are angry at him because of how he's acting. I'm kind of angry with him in this book. Yeah, I found this book absolutely fascinating. I feel like Umbridge and the way she takes over and how she's evil, but she's still differently evil compared to like Voldemort. I found that very interesting. So yeah, surprisingly my favorite Harry Potter book of the whole series. Now we're getting to number 4, and the next 4 books are kind of, when it comes to the ranking, they're kind of interchangeable. Like, this is my ranking for right now, but I feel like depending on a day it might change. So they're all amazing books and definitely my favorites of all of my favorites of 2018. So technically on number 4 we have This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. This is a diary of a junior doctor, so that it's kind of written as like diary entries when he was not only a junior doctor, I think he was doing like a residency too, but yeah, at the end he quit medicine and started writing for like TV shows and stuff, which is not surprising because Adam Kay's sense of humor is amazing. This book is so hilarious, but also at the same time I feel like if you want to have a kid, it's kind of horrifying because he is what do you call that, obstetrician? Yeah, I don't remember, but hilarious and really interesting too. Then on number 3 we have a non-fiction book which is kind of a longer essay, 3 Guineas by Virginia Woolf. It was kind of written as a reply to a man who was asking how we can prevent the war and also protect intellectual freedom, and this is kind of A Room of One's Own 2.0, but I think better. I personally liked it a lot more than A Room of One's Own. I feel like she presented her arguments better, like in a more... So this was published almost a decade after A Room of One's Own, so just because the Second World War started. And yeah, like I said, it's a lot angrier, but not aggressively so, and also a lot better structured in my opinion than A Room of One's Own, but I still would advise you to read A Room of One's Own first. Then on number 2 we have Tipping the Velvet by Sarah Waters. Almost said Sarah Perry. A Sarah Perry book actually made it to my worst books of the year, which you haven't seen because I deleted the video back whatever. This is a historical fiction set in England at the end of the 19th century, and it's about a young girl who, at the beginning of the novel, lives at the seaside with her family, who owns an oyster restaurant, and one day at the theatre she sees Kitty Butler, who was dressed up as a male and was performing like a musical number, and she is completely enchanted by her, and she, you know, comes to all of her performances, and in the end they kind of become friends. And Nancy, the young girl, becomes her dresser, and they go to London together, and that's where the story actually begins. This is gorgeously written, a very atmospheric book. I would say kind of a coming-of-age story. I'm so excited that I have so many other books by Sarah Waters to read because this was stunning. Then on number 1 we have a classic, who's surprised, which is The Tenant of Wakeful Hall by Anne Bronte. Do you say Annie or Anne Bronte? So the basic synopsis is that a mysterious woman moves into a mansion called Wildfell Hall, which sparks a lot of rumors in the village, and it's written kind of from 2 points of view, one as a series of letters and the other as a diary. This is a brilliant tale of a woman's struggle for independence and standing up for your values. It's beautifully written, and I am surprised that this is not more well known. I understand, like Charlotte, I feel like Charlotte deserves her place as like #1 most famous Bronte sister, but I feel like Annie should be more famous than Emily. Just my opinion. I hated Wuthering Heights, okay? Definitely, if you haven't read anything by Anne Bronte, definitely give this a try. And that's everything. This had to be very quick. I didn't really tell you a lot about the books I was talking about because I really don't have time, I'm so sorry. But I hope this was still enjoyable, and not sure when I'm going to film my next video because I have so many exams, so many essays to write, so many like research papers and presentation to prepare. It's going to be a very busy next to like 3 weeks. I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye!